Morning to all of you. Welcome to today's program on managing training process. Dear participants, so the last time we have talked about the training policy. As you understand that this particular topic is connected to development and implementation of training. So initially, you had seen the development part of it, where we have seen how to make your training strategy, making your training plan, taking care of the various aspects of training, right from the material to the classroom setup and all other things which are theoretically that you have discussed. And then you have talked about the training policies, the basis on the basis of which the training is to be conducted in any organization. Now we're coming to the implementation part, and that part deals with how exactly you are going to do the same thing, do the training process. And there today's topic is training implementation and classroom management. So the actual business of the training is now going to start in the classroom, where the delivery of the training will take place. And if the delivery is well, then the entire thing will be well, because that is the point where the transfer of training will take place. So that is the most important issue for a trainer in particular, where he has to deliver the training so effectively that the training is transferred to the people and they imbibe those qualities and those thoughts within them, and that is reflected in their behavior and their workplace. So therefore, this is a very important, very important topics I must stress upon this. And for any particularly for any trainer, he needs to imbibe these qualities within them very effectively to become a good trainer. So from that point of view, today's topics is, as I told you, training implementation and classroom management. So there are various implementation ideas for trainers, that how they are going to implement the training, what are the areas they need to think about. So that's what we are going to talk about. But before that, if anybody has got any question in the previous sessions, any of the sessions, they can very well ask. Otherwise, I'll go ahead. So dear participants, if you have got any question, you can ask me. I think there is no question. May I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think there is no question, no? So I'm just going ahead. So let us now come to the today's topics, that is training implementation and classroom management. So initially, I'm going to talk about the various implementation ideas for the trainers. What are the areas that they should think about? Now, let me share the screen. Well, training implementation and classroom management, in which there are certain implementation ideas for trainers. I'll begin with that. Well, for doing any training on a particular day, before the training is started, there are various kinds of preparation that one has to make to implement this training process. The preparations are many. So those can be thought of in the way that making the nominations, inviting the people, giving them certain pre-training communication is involved, that what is the topics or the title of the training, what is expected from the training, when they are, what are the materials that participants, if required, they are supposed to bring with them. Sometimes that materials, certain materials, the participants may need to bring with them, maybe with certain exercises or certain other documents with them. So if there is any requirement at all, that can be communicated to them. Before the training process, the room setup and the equipment functionality is to be checked by the trainer. It's always advisable for a important training. The trainer may come one day early, or even on the day of training, you can come in the morning earlier to the training session. They can see the room setup. The room setup is very important from a trainer point of view, because how the sitting arrangement is made there, whether there is any room for the trainers to move around, how the where is the dais, is it in a height or it's in the level of the trainees, how many participants are supposed to be there. That gives you some fair idea that as to how the trainer is going to make the show on the day of training. The podiums are kept there, the equipments in the sense that the LCD projector, the computer, the PCs, and everything is available there. If there is any requirement of putting any hangings in the room, if that has been done properly, so everything has to be seen uh, before the training is started, because so that there is no disturbance while doing the training process. And I have written it knowingly. The implementation ideas for trainers there. One very important thing is that when you do everything like this, your materials are ready, your communication is there when the people are to come to the class, when the time is the training is going to be conducted, when the room is set up, the equipments are functioning. That gives a very good impression to the people. So the first impression that the trainees get, that creates their mental attitude to be prepared to listen to the program sincerely. So that first impression, this is one of the part of the first impression. There are many other things which you can discuss later on. So those things are to be taken care of by the trainer before the training is actually started. Now let me just go through the next points, the same points in little detail. The pre-training communication involves certain things that it should be intimated to them, or it can be said even on the day of training in the classroom itself, what is the basic objective of the training. This will make the participants prepared to listen to the program. It must resonate to their requirement, to their interests, right? So the objectives of the training is to be spelled out to them so they can understand why they have come for the training, and that will create that preparedness for them to be in the training process. What is the agenda of the training? That means what? How the training will move from which thought to the which thought. What are the things that is going to be delivered, and what are the expectations from the trainer in that process of training? Appropriate attire and refreshments, and the trainers, they are interested to the facilities also, because so what are the dress code, or if there is anything, how they're supposed to be there, what kind of refreshments they are going to get. So it creates an impact on their expectations from the training. They feel better. So that those things are to be communicated to the trainees in advance. Now, the date and the time and the location. So the prior to the training program, the date, time, and location has to be given very specifically. The location has to be spelled out very clearly, with, if required, with maps and all that, so that there is no disturbance for the trainees, difficult for the trainees to reach the venue. And also, while if the trainees do not reach in time, there will be a lot of disturbance in the training process, so that by informing those things earlier, the things will become better and the people will be there in time. And as I told you, the materials, if any, is required to be brought by the trainees, those are to be intimated to them in advance. These are certain very important prerequisites, but these have got lot of impact on the efficacy of the training process, because they feel better. The things goes very well and very smoothly without any disturbance. And the next thing is the trainer has to find out, has to understand what are the materials required for the training process. Are those ready with them? Are those ready in the venue itself? Like if there are manuals to be distributed to them, the handouts to be distributed, the name tags is to be, for the trainees, those are to be made ready beforehand. So that can be transported on the day of the training, or it can be supplied even before that. So things should be ready. There should not have any disturbance. Number one, it should be available. Number two, there should not have any disturbance into the training process for people coming and going. So the manuals, handouts, name tags, and materials are to be ready beforehand. There are sometimes it's required that the trainer has to give certain materials, some photocopy of the materials. Now either the photocopies are to be done earlier, or on the day of training it should be given beforehand to the people who are managing the training, the materials supplied to them, so that they can get the photocopy in time without wastage of time and without waiting for the things to come in the classroom. Well, the stationary items, there are certain stationary items which are to be given to the trainee, maybe the ball pens, the pads, and such things are to be given to the trainees in time, so that those things are to be ready. And the trainer must identify the time when it should be circulated to the people, right? Should be done meticulously prepared in between the thought of earlier. The markers and the dusters that is to be used by the trainer should be available there. And sometimes it's happened that everything is ready, but then there is no marker or the duster is not available. So things have to be very pretty clear that everything is ready in the classroom before starting the entire training process. Well, a very important thing next is the room setup and the equipment functionality. As I told you earlier, room setup, the placement of the tables, the chairs, and the sitting arrangement is very, very important. It depends upon what kind of training program is going to be conducted. If in a training program there is some group activities are to be done, then the sitting arrangement has to be done accordingly so that a group can sit around the table. And also, the sitting arrangement has to be done accordingly. And there should have enough of room for the faculty or any other co-faculty to move around in the room whenever it's required. So the placement of table, chairs, and sitting arrangement has to be done seen earlier. And for a good trainer, for an experienced trainer, he will first, all those things he will see very meticulously, imagining that when and at what point of time, what he is going to do in the classroom. So there should have room for movement. That's a very important part of the training process. And we'll talk about it a little later in further detail. Familiarity with the equipment. The trainer must be familiar with the equipments. The LCD projector, the laptop that is going to be used, and if there is a pointer to be used for the PowerPoint presentation, the trainer has to be familiar with this, and not only the familiar, whether things are working rightly, it should be ensured before the training is started. So if a trainer reaches there early in the classroom and he can check all those things ready, everything is fine there. The laptop, the pen drives are available, the LCD projectors are functioning, everything has to be checked properly, right? And then ready for presenting to the possibilities and confidence. That is one the thing for the trainers. The trainer must be ready with his material. It depends upon what kind of the trainer, that what kind of assistance he wants in the classroom, whether he wants a ready-made point-wise description of the training program, the training materials, and what kind of thing he wants. And according to that, he should be ready. He should have a very clear idea in his mind, imagining what he is going to do and at what point of time, and that will create a lot of ease in his mind. The most important part for a trainer is that he must have a confidence and cool mind while delivering the training process. If there is an anxiety in his mind, there's lack of confidence, that's going to spoil the entire training process. Therefore, if things are ready and whatever he is required by him, everything is ready with him, with the trainer will become at ease, and he will be able to deliver the things properly. Well, these are certain important things the trainer has to look before the training is started. At no point of time this should be ignored, because if these are ignored, there will be some kind of problem in between, and that will really uh, create problem for the smooth running of the training program. Now, coming to the next point. Here comes the real show. Now, the important thing for a trainer in any training process is to create the first impression. As you know that first impression is the last impression. Any first impression that is being created by the trainer is going to live for long. and the trainer has to be careful about that. There's no question of being having lack of confidence or an worry in his mind. He should be very open, and it should be very, free to do all these things, right? So he has to first create his credibility. The trainer credibility will be created, that impression will be created in the first few minutes only. The moment the trainer enters inside a room and he starts talking about the program, that immediately gives a glimpse of the capability of the trainer to do the training process, to deliver the training process. So trainer credibility is to be established first. The credibility is established by certain factors. Number one, the knowledge of the trainer, right? The ease and confidence with which he delivers or communicates that training process to the people, that is going to create an impact. What is his body language? That's also going to create an impact in the minds of the people. How he's going to relate himself to the people, whether he is looking down upon the trainers as a very less knowledgeable person, or he is at the level of the trainees. That's a very important factor which is going to create that credibility. The trainer's competence in the terms of his communication skill, in terms of his creating rapport with the people, with the participants. That competence is, is the way he's handling the questions and all that. That competence is to be established by the trainer. But the first thing, the most important part is that the first impression is to be created, and that first impression will be created the way the trainer, whenever the trainer enters inside the room, immediately that impression is created. So number one, the dress the trainer wears should be neat, clean, and presentable to the occasion. So whenever when I say the dress should be neat and clean, it is not, it should be something very costly dress. It is not also necessary that you must wear a suit and the tie and all that. It's not always necessary, but whatever he wears, it should be neat and clean. Number one. Number two, it should be as per the occasion. The occasion is very important thing, you must understand. Because in a training process, what is very important is that trainer should be able to come to the level of the trainees. The trainer should not have any difference with the trainees. And the trainees must not feel that the trainer is something different from us, right? So for doing that, what kind of dress a trainer should wear at the time of delivering the training will depend upon the kind of participants there. If you're talking to the executive, the senior level people who are very well dressed and people, you can wear a suit and the tie and all that, that doesn't matter. But if you're talking to the, the, the people who are at the shop floor level, or at the level of the subordinate staffs, then there, if you wear something very gorgeous, something very, suit and boot and your tie and all that, that may create some difference. So there, according to the requirement of the level of the training, we must have the dress. So that the most important part here is to look into the fact how the trainer is going to come to the level of the training. Trainees must feel that this person is like one amongst us, right? Now, the dress is important, but the moment you enter inside the room, the way you are entering inside the room, and the moment you enter inside the room, and after that, what is the gesture that you're showing, and the sentences that you're speaking is going to create a lot of importance, a lot of impact in the minds of the people. So you must enter with a positive note. A person dejected, negative, demotivated, leaning down, that is a very bad impression, and the participants get a very bad impact to get in their mind. And so, therefore, the first impression has to be very, very, very impactful. So, a trainer must enter with a positive note, and that positive note should be displayed by his gesture, by his smiles, the way he's talking to the people with a high positive note, with a confident note. Okay, so that is the first impression. The first impression is really very important, and that has to be taken care of by any trainer uh, mm, while giving the training process. Now, the start of the training. After entering the classroom, the training has to be started. The starting has to be, now if you are entering inside the classroom, you are dumped totally, and you started talking that, yes, today we have got the topics like this. That's the wrong way of starting a training process. Now, whenever you enter inside the room, you must greet the participants, and make the participants feel that you are at their level, you are there to help them, you are there to give them some understanding about the topics which is going to help them. So you are one of them. So greeting the participants rightfully and making them comfortable is very, very important in the start of the training. There are many instances where the trainers have a and in the background of his mind, the trainer starts with that he is at a very high level and he is going to give something to the people who doesn't know anything. That kind of feeling should not be there. It has to be very open. It has to be to the level of the participant. And the second point is the very important point which creates an impression in the classroom is the icebreaker. Icebreaker is the initial talks by which the participants open up themselves and they come at the level of the trainer. But the trainees do not know about the trainer. In most of the cases, they may not be knowing. So they're creating that link with the trainer and the trainee has to be done by the icebreaker. The icebreaker can be done in different ways. It depends upon different people and the different target group. The icebreaker can be done by a group activity. Icebreaker can be done by uh, making a group or telling people to introduce to each other themselves, right? And in that process, they become more informal. And being informal, they come closer to the classroom environment. The icebreaker can be the trainer may start giving some of his experiences of his life, or the trainer may elaborate some of the incident which he has gone through recently. But whatever the trainer says, whether it's a story or it's an incident or an experience of life, you must know the most important thing is that must be related to the topics of the day. And the credibility of a trainer lies on the fact how far he is in a position, how far he is able to relate that particular incident or experience with today's training program. And that will really make the participants in line with the trainer. They will become more interested in the training process and they'll become more closer and come to the level of the training. Then the one thing is to say the objectives of the training. The objectives of the training is important, very important factor, and that is the trainers must know why the training is being conducted. Whenever any training comes to a training program, at the back of his mind there are certain questions that why should I attend this training program? In certain cases, what happens, the training is simply a ritual. Organizations want that people should attend this training program, and maybe that training program may not have some relevance to the trainees, or even if there is some relevance to the trainees do not know about it. So the one important duty of a trainer is to clear the objective of the training, so that trainer objective of the training process, so that the trainees may come to know why they are attending this program and what is expected from them after going through this training program. Number two, as an adult trainees, the adult trainees should be, and they have got a question in mind, how far this particular training program is relevant to their own life or relevant to their work life. That relevance has to be very explicitly made clear by the trainer. There lies the credibility of the trainer to make it connected to their own life, or to the life of to their work life. Making that relevant to them is very, very important. That relevance is to be created by them. This is a very, very huge important task that trainer must understand. He should not just go and start talking about the program, start delivering the training program. We must create that background in the minds of the trainees, that why this training program is being conducted and what they will get out of this training and what is expected from them, and how this is going to transform their behavior in their own life or in their work life. Setting the ground rules. There are certain rules that we set by the trainer. And these are for making the training program for smooth and ease. The ground rules, something like this, that when the participants should ask the questions, when they should ask the questions, how they should listen to the program, how they should, if there is any doubt, how they are going to make it clear from the trainer. Well, so there are certain guidelines which are to be given. which things are to be noted down, which are not to be noted, when they're going to have some activity in the training program. So the ground rules are to be set so that the trainees know in advance what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And sometimes even the trainer say that you switch off the cell phone and all that depends upon the training program and the particular training process and the trainer. So what kind of rules he is going to create, you know? So the start of the training is very, very important. As I told you in a brief, I'll say again, greet the participants, make the icebreaker very effectively, spell out the objectives of the training, create the relevance of the training program with the participants' own life and the work life, set the ground rules. These are certain basic things the trainer has to begin with in any training program. Next important thing the trainer must try to find out and try to establish, creating the interest in the minds of the trainees for the training. You know, if the trainer cannot create interest in the minds of the training is not going to be successful. In any training process, you must remember the trainer is not actually going to give any knowledge. The trainer is going to stimulate the minds of the trainees so that the trainees themselves start accepting the things, start understanding and realizing the things in their mind. So opening up their mind, stimulating their mind to start thinking will happen only when they find interest in the training. The trainee may be sometimes totally passive and he may not have any interest, but the moment the trainer starts explaining the things and the way he starts talking to them, to the class, suddenly the trainee becomes highly interested and starts listening to the class very clearly. And for that, the trainer has to have some understanding about his target group for the students or the participants. So understanding the group is very important. There may be various kinds of group. The group may be the top management people, higher management people, middle management people, the junior management people. They may have difference in terms of their education, their experience, and their level. So understanding the group will make the trainer understand that how the interest can be created in the minds of those people. So you have to talk to the level of those people, creating interest by describing about the training program, by giving certain instances and incidents, and that is going to elaborate them how the program is interesting to them and the way the delivery is given by the trainer. The trainer has to understand the learning styles of the people. The learning styles of the people, some people are more auditory, some are more visual, and some are more kinesthetic in the sense that some people can understand and get the training input through by listening only. In certain cases, the trainees become comfortable when they visualize something, see certain things, say maybe a video or maybe some drawings or some figures there. And some people are more kinesthetic, they want some kind of feeling. So that feeling can be generated by doing exercises, by certain the communicating in such a way, or by being actively taking part in any role play or any other kind of exercises. So the trainer has to understand the need of the group, and you can very well imagine that in any group, different kinds of people will be there. There may not be only one kind of people, one kind of learning style people. So the trainer has to keep in mind that he has to moderate his training in such a way that all the three different kinds of learning styles are to be given. There must be certain things visual, there must be certain things auditory, there must be certain things kinesthetic. So by doing that, he will make all these three kinds of people of different styles interested in the training program. So understanding the learning style of the people is very, very important. Providing variety, that variety is to be given in the classroom. Variety in the sense of different kinds of learning styles. And not only the learning styles, apart from the learning style, the various kinds of exercises, hands-on program, the group exercises, a role play, whatever is relevant to the training program, that should be given so that the trainees become highly interested in the training program. So giving exercises of games sometimes become very, very useful in the training process. But one thing has to be taken care of. Giving exercises or games or any kind of activity is important. But the most important thing is that has to be related to the training the subject matter of the training. Only giving an exercises or games or an activity for the sake of giving an activity or exercise or games is not going to produce any result. At the end of the day, the purpose is that training should be transferred. And for transferring the training, every exercise or games has to be properly managed so that it relates to the topics of the program and that it reaches home to the minds of to the training. That's what they've learned from this particular process of exercise or games or activity. That that really spells out the credibility of a trainer, that how you can relate that exercise or games or activity. In certain cases, unfortunately, I must say that express this, that there are the trainers give some exercise or games or activity just for the sake of passing the time. It has got no relevance to the topic, and that must be avoided. That creates a very bad impact because the trainees later on they talk within themselves. This has got no relevance to the topics. It's simply a wastage of time. So that has to be kept in mind very carefully. The trainer has to keep in mind one more thing, that the interest of the people, as you know, that it remains at the most 15 to 20 minutes if you keep on at a stage if you talking about a subject. So there must be a break in between. So the trainer must know that after a gap of 10 or 15 minutes, there must be some recapitulation, a recap of whatever has been done so far, and summarizing the things that has been already said in that process. You know that summarizing the training is very very important. That what has been said, because if there is any doubt or any question, and that the participants can very well ask them. And so that the things do not stuck up somewhere in between. Well, so these five things are very, very important for creating interest of the trainees in the training process. I am repeating it. Understanding the group, understand the group, their requirement, what is the level of understanding, what is the language they understand, what is their expectation from the program, what is their experience. The trainer should be able to add something extra to their knowledge. If you keep on talking about something which that particular group is well versed in, well experienced with, they will try to search for the things what's new in this program. So you must understand the group, that what is their level and what extra can be given to them. It reminds me of one very important incident in my life. I was once given an assignment of giving training to the leadership training to the union leaders. You can understand that it's a very tough job. You have to give leadership training to the union leaders who have got the background of the mind. They're highly knowledgeable people in the area of leading and the leadership. So I remember when I entered inside the room, the eyes were closed, people are looking down, not interested to listen at all, with the background in their mind, what he is going to tell us. We are already leaders. So now I understand the group. Now, once you understand the group, what is the level of thinking, what they're thinking, then immediately have to think about if they're already in leaders, and it's quite genuine in the mind that they know about leadership, what extra I'm going to tell to them so that they can find it different and my acceptability starts shaping up. So to create that acceptability, I had to first understand the background, understand the group, their expectations, their mental, their psychological setup in the mind. So what I did is that I just thought about those things and I jotted down those things in my mind, which I already thought about earlier, which they probably do not know, which is really going to augment to their knowledge. So first thing is accepting what they're doing, not nullifying that. You first accept what they're doing and just augment to that process, that whatever you're doing, it can be done even better by doing this thing. And when I spelled out those things, gradually over a period of time, the people started understanding, yes, there are certain things which you really do not know and which you really need to know about. And so ultimately the program went very well and they were very happy to attend the program and they accepted the training program very well. So understanding the group is very important. Understand the learning styles of the group. Don't be monotonous by just giving auditory, unauditory. Give some certain things visual. Give some kinesthetic feeling. Kinesthetic is giving convey that your tonal qualities, change of your pitch. It should not be monotonous. All right, giving some exercise, asking questions to the people. Right. So provide the variety in the program so that there is ups and downs in the program and people start getting more involved in the training process. Of course, wherever required, give the exercise and games. And recapitulation, summarizing is very, very important point after every 15 to 20 minutes. So that wherever they're stacking up, wherever there is any doubt, that can be cleared up. So here is now the big time for us, as we are already talking about the time for recap and questionnaire. So the same thing I'm going to apply to you. Whatever I have said so far, we have all talked about the pre-training communication. That what pre-training communication is to meet with the participant. You have to make ensure the materials are ready. You have to ensure the room is set up and the equipment is in order and the trainer is well versed with running the equipment. And then you need to create your first impression by a proper entry, and then start the training by greeting the people, and then by doing some ice breaking exercises and all that, giving them the understanding of the topics and what is expected out of them, what is the objective to the training program. Then we need to create the interest of the training, the trainers, by different methods as we have already discussed about. So now, if you have got any questions so far, we are going to discuss other things also later on. So any question that you have got in mind, please ask me. Yes, please, any question? Yes.
Morning, sir. Arpita here.
Are you with me? Yes, please, little louder.
Yes, sir, Arpita. So just a request from the last session.
No, sound is not coming at all. Now, please check your microphone.
So is it clear now?
Hello?
Is it clear, sir?
No, sound is not coming.
So I'll write on the chat box.
Hello? Hello? Come in, please. To the job. Yes, that subject matter, the topics that is going to be discussed about must be relevant to their life or to their work life. Say, for example, when right now I'm talking about the training process, as a trainer, how you should make your classroom, manage your classroom. Now, in this particular process, although it is a program for your you are doing diploma and so you understand what is the relevance earlier. But if you don't have in a classroom, I would have first talked about how this particular training program is going to increase your capability as a trainer in your professional life. And if I'm talking about something in relation to some behavioral session, then I will definitely discuss that by this behavioral session, in what way you are going to be changing your life, your attitude, and your motivational level in your life. So that has to be pointed out very clearly that this training program is going to be relevant to your life or to your work life. As a trainer, this training program, what you're talking now, is going to be relevant to your life, because if you want to become a professional trainer, you have to imbibe these qualities, you have to develop these qualities, which can be done through a process of practicing and experiencing. So this is something raw material for your growth and for your development, and that's how it is relevant to your life and relevant to your work life. That's what I meant by that. Yes, please. Could you understand it? Hello? Yes, please.
Yes, sir. It's clear. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Next question. Hello, Mr. Agrawal. Is there another question?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
So may I proceed? Yeah, then I'm proceeding. There's no other question, it seems, right? Well, after this recap and questionnaire, now let us go to our next relevant topic, the trainer attire. You must remember, whenever you are delivering a lecture in the classroom, you must know that you are being seen. People are seeing you, but that does not mean that you should be lacking in confidence and you be conscious about it and you lose your confidence. No, nothing of that sort. You must think as a trainer that now I am being seen, so there's an opportunity when I can show myself what I am. Right. So, and that will be transferred through your attire, and those will be constituted by number one, the body language. Your posture should be highly confident. Remember that making the posture confident is going to give a very important impression in the minds of the people. And I always say that you should have a power posture. The power posture is, do not lean backward. You should be open and moving forward looking. And you should be straight, not bent at all. Not bent on your neck. It should be straight, right? And your legs ahead, not backward, but forward. Your body language has to be positive, because that positive body language is going to be transpired in the minds of the trainees, and you are going to create an impression in the minds of the trainees accordingly. So that's a very important thing, the training attire, number one, body language. Next, one very, very important thing we would like to point out that is that, how we are going to use the podium. In certain cases, maybe in training room, there is a podium kept. There's the purpose of keeping the podium, and it must be used only for that purpose. Unfortunately, there are different kinds of people, the trainers, and they make certain mistakes somewhere. One mistake is the trainer is sitting on a seat behind the table, on a chair, just behind the table, is sitting there and delivering his training, just sitting there on the chair itself, and just delivering the training. The entire training period, he is sitting there and delivering the lecture. It's absolutely monotonous and absolutely going to dampen the entire environment. Number one. Number two, there is some other mistake that people make, the trainer makes, and that generally is made when there is lack of confidence. That they stand on the podium, take support of the podium, and they keep on continuing to talk and deliver the training throughout the training program, maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours and 3 hours, whatever it may be, continuously standing and catching hold of that podium. It shows your lack of confidence of the trainer. So there may be some benefits they want to take out of it. Number one, it's going to give them some confidence. Or he may keep certain written materials on the podium, and you can just sit to it and just talk on that. But this creates a very bad impression. A good trainer should be able to move around by talking. You remember it. The more you're closer to the people, the more you're going to be open, the more you're going to influence the trainees, and your training is going to be more successful. So move around while talking. Be within the trainees. Be within the trainees. At least be in front of the trainees, just about 1 or 2 feet away from the trainees. And sometimes it requires go inside the trainees and be closer to them. Give a lot of importance to each and every person, right? So moving around while talking is very, very important. The gesture that is shown, the gesture should be very positive, smiling, and it should not be derogatory in any sense. It should not also show that you're denouncing some of the trainees. It should not be like that. Even if you do not like something, you must not express that. You must, because they are trainees, they're here to learn certain things, and you are here to help them to learn certain things. You are instrumental in giving them the learning process. So show your gesture, be smiling, be courteous, be positive, right? And so show the gestures properly, and keeping your eye contact with the people very right. And this is something also very, very important. Sometimes it happens that the trainer looks at one particular section of the training. Say maybe they're looking at the right side. So there are about 5 or 10 people at the right side. He continues to gauge on those 10 people throughout the training program, because he's got lack of confidence in meeting the eyes of the people. And you have to practice it. There is nothing to fear in a training program. You're simply sharing what you know. And if at any particular point you do not know something, doesn't matter, you have to manage it properly. So there is nothing. It's not expected that every person remembers everything in the classroom. No, it's not possible and not required at all. So eye contact has to be, it should be moving through the entire training, right, throughout the room, from the right to the left, from front to the backside. Everyone should feel that the trainer is giving importance to all of them, and that's a very very important quality of a trainer, how he can manage the thing. So trainer attire is going to create a lot of impact in the minds of the people. Next thing we should see, certain communication tips. The communication tips are very very important in the sense that while you communicate, do not communicate continuously. Give a pause in between. Why the pause? Pause, number one, it helps the trainer himself to think of what he's going to do next. Number one. Number two, when there's a pause, the trainer also think about what has been said so far. Because when you are keeping talking continuously, the trainees are in a race to understand what is being said. So giving little pause helps them to recapitulate the things what has been said, and can think about what is said and what now, how they're going to receive later on. So communicate with the pause, that's very important. And remember it, the more you're confident as a trainer, the more pause you'll be able to give. Because you know that there's a race against what you're thinking and you're talking. There's a race with your mind and your tongue. When you are lacking your confidence, tongue will go very fast, but the mind will not be able to catch up with it. So giving a pause, learning to give a pause in a training process really creates a lot of difference in the trainer's style of delivering in the lecture. Allow participants to express in the communication process. It should not be monologue as you understand it. And that the monologue will happen only when you keep on talking. Give a pause and give your gesture, through your gesture. Yes, now anybody has got anything to say. And even if somebody does not say anything, encourage the participants to communicate. Ask them to talk about. Please come out. Whatever you have understood, please come out with it. Don't fear the questions. Never. Remember, the questions are not to be feared. Questions are your friends. That gives you time to think about, right? Otherwise, you have to keep on talking, which is difficult. So encourage the participants to communicate. The moment they communicate, they become part of the whole process of training, right? And the real purpose of training is satisfied by that. Encourage the participants to communicate. Next, do not make things so serious. You do not communicate in such a way. It's a very serious matter which you are going to discuss here, and it's a question of life and death. No, nothing of the sort. It's a training program. The people should be happy. People should be open. Things should be taken happily and understood happily. If there is any doubt, they must express. It should be very happy and congenial and open atmosphere. So make that situation normalize. Normalize the situation very clearly. Very, very important thing, never make a participant feel small while communicating. Maybe there's some answer comes or some question comes from a training, and you find the question irrelevant to the topic. Never ever frown at it. And don't say that this is something nonsense, this is not a good question. Never at all. You must appreciate the question. But at the same time, you just add to that so that he can understand what is the real thing. You can very well say, well, I understand your point of view. That's a very good point. But then we should also think from this point of view. So give your point of view. Never make any participant feel small, because remember it, if you do that, the person to whom you're talking to is not only he is being offended by this, the entire group may become offended by it, because you're talking to a group behavior, not an individual behavior. Individual person, you're talking to a group, and in a group people become connected with each other very much, right? So communicate with them properly, and really understanding what is to be said, when there should have a pause, making the things more clear, more open, more lively, and giving importance to trainees, whatever is due to them. Next, use the non-verbal communication. I already said you certain things earlier, that give the gestures and your body language. But to augment to that, there are certain things which is very important. Sometimes a trainer keeps on talking in a same tone, same pitch, particularly in a classroom training. And that becomes very monotonous and very boring. You know, you need to change your tone to break the monotony and change your pitch to break the monotony. Um, that is the very important quality of a trainer, although it should not be excessive, but that is really one of the most important quality of a trainer by changing his tone, by changing his speech. If suppose there is something which is very important, suddenly the sound becomes heavier, or suddenly the sound becomes very slow. So there is a change in the talk, in the pitch, in the tone of the whatever is being communicated, and that creates a lot of impact. Suddenly the trainees become attentive to that. Trainers should be able to extend the emotions to the people. If I talk of something, continuously in the same manner, in the same tone, the same pitch, the emotions are not created. The emotions are created by changing the tone and changing the pitch, and certainly making them understand that this is something which is very important. This is something which is going to be relevant to their life. That show that emotion by talks, by a tone, by a pitch. You know, and that should have openness in your talk, inviting, openness, being forward, inviting in the sense, ask them to ask the questions, ask them to express their opinion, ask them to say anything that you want to tell them, rather than avoiding the questions. Sometimes people start avoiding the questions because they are lacking their confidence. That is also going to be very bad. It should be open. It should be clearly inviting to the trainees. You should be, the trainer must be empathetic to the training. Empathetic in the sense, the trainer must understand what is the level of understanding of the people. Trainer must put himself in the position of the trainees and try to understand whatever he is delivering. Are they really understanding? There are two ways of understanding at the position of the trainees. Number one, by uh, putting the trainer himself at the position of the trainees, understanding their level, their knowledge, and their experience. Then try to explore whether they will understand this aspect or not. If you're talking something very serious, some strategic matter to a subordinate level of people or a junior management people, they may not be able to comprehend that because they're lacking in the experience, that kind of experience in their life. So that has to be thought about. Number one, putting yourself in that position. Number one. Number two is looking at the eyes of the people. Eye contact is very important. Because by looking at eyes of the people, you can understand whether they understand it or not, whether they're getting whatever you're saying or not. It requires a little experience. And over a period of time, trainer becomes so much experienced they can understand what is, and the people are understanding what they are not. Well, coming to the next point, some other tips. Communicate with pause, we have already talked about, sorry. Next is listening and questioning. Listening is always listening is very, very, very important, but listening is the most difficult process for anybody, and particularly maybe for a trainer who thinks that he knows very well. There's nobody else who knows, and he is the only person who has to talk with. You have to you have to remove that kind of thinking. You must learn to listen to them. When you listen carefully to the people, number one, you can understand what level they are, what is their position of their understanding the thing. Number two, you understand how much they're motivated. And when you listen to the people, they become motivated. It should be, when you listen to the other people, you can summarize the thing, that what is the uh, effect of the training program to them, what they have understood, so that you can correct those things, you can fill in the blanks and give them the additional things what is required to be told them. So give feedback to what is said. You can give feedback to them later on when they summarize the thing. You can ask, you have to question to encourage the speaking to the people. As you said, the listening is important, and for listening, you have to stimulate people to talk, stimulate the trainees to talk. So you encourage them to put their questions. That will help you to understand the level of understanding where they stand right now in the program. Well, the next is, there are various kinds of participants you'll face in a training program, and you have to deal with them, right? There will be some quiet trainees. Some trainees you will keep on sitting there throughout the classroom. throughout the training program, sitting quiet. You know, it is as a trainer, it's your duty, and a good trainer will always keep an eye on each and every participant in the class, whether somebody is totally blank, somebody not totally talking, totally passive, or whatever is there. If somebody's some quiet training, you should be able to encourage him and come out with it so that he can lack. Sometimes what happens, the trainee is not lacking in his confidence to speak out a question. So just encourage him to speak out. Doesn't matter whether it is right or wrong. Tell him that it doesn't matter right or wrong. Just speak out. And once you encourage him, maybe he will gradually come out and he will become a part of the entire process of the training. There will be some trainings who are talkative. They keep on talking, keep on asking questions, or keep on talking in the class. That may be because of various reasons. They have people have got different state of mind, a different understanding about their own capabilities. So if there is a talkative trainee, you should not just abruptly stop him, but you should try to make him little little less active in the classroom by making them understand that yes, you can ask me a question, very nice, the questions are very good, but please allow others to also take part in this process, right? Giving importance doesn't matter. There will be some trainee who will remain always critical of things, he'll remain angry. you know you have to handle those people. If somebody is angry in the class, there must have some reason, right? Talk to him, face him, don't avoid him. Talk to him, try to understand his point of view, give him importance, ask him to ask a question, right? And then if you find that that training really is going to disturb you, you can talk to him off the class and make him understand you know everything, you understand many things, but people do not understand. Allow others to understand the help process. Please help me in the classroom. There may be some people who are the comedians in the sense they will keep on doing some remarks which can create laughter in the class, and that is to some extent it's good. But it goes beyond the thing. You have to manage him. You have to manage him by not by reprimanding, not by being authoritative to him, but by asking to the other people to communicate to him. The people will automatically communicate to him that you should not do this thing so frequently to disturb the class, right? And you can also at the off the classroom, you can also tell him to make these things, little lesser so that it doesn't disturb the class. There will be some trainees who are path setter, some trainees, they're highly knowledgeable, highly sincere, and they really set the tone of the class. So if you want to create sometime that kind of impact in the class, you can start asking him the question because you know that he is going to give a good answer to that question. And listening to the good answer, the other people also learn from it, and they also start behaving the same way he is doing. So there'll be various kinds of training in the class, and you should be able to handle the different kinds of people accordingly. The very important thing is that creating rapport in the classroom. Creating rapport is the crux of everything. If a trainer cannot create rapport in the class, he is going to miss the bus. Rapport is divided basically because we are not being able to talk about rapport in length here, right here. I'll talk in only in 2 points, two parts of it. Number one, rapport is divided into 2 categories, in 2 steps. Number one is pacing, and the second is leading. The pacing is the process of taking the second position. Means what? The trainer follows the trainees. Ask the trainees to talk. Listen to him very carefully. Give importance to the training. What happens in human psychology is that if you listen to somebody very carefully, the other person becomes ready to listen to you also. On the contrary, if you do not listen to others, then he will also not listen to you. So take the second position, take genuine interest in the participant, which should be visible. Create interest, show that you are interested to listening to him and he is talking very well. Listen to him because you are just creating some impression in his mind. Know about the participant, understand about the thinking pattern. The more you listen to him, more you will understand him, more you will understand his thinking pattern, so that later on you can communicate accordingly to satisfy his mind. So listen to him, take genuine interest, know more about him, understand about thinking pattern, and also be willing to see the participant from their point of view. try to show that their point of view is very, very important, and you are listening to that very carefully, accepting their point of view. Now, by doing this, what is happening? You're coming at the level of the people. The people will start accepting you because you have accepted to them. That is a pacing process. You need to take some time. There are also certain other techniques for doing that, like the matching and mirroring, which we're not going to discuss right now. Maybe we'll be talking later on. So be careful to listen to them and make them aligned with you. Now the next part is the next process where you are going to become take lead, by which now you will start giving, throwing out your point of view to other people. Because now they are aligned with you, now whatever you will say, that they are going to accept. So leading is a process of bringing your point of view to the other person. Start giving your point of view. And in most of the cases, if your pacing is done well, the people will start accepting your point of view. Right? The other person will follow because enough of rapport is already created. So what happens, the mistake that the trainer does, that the moment he enters inside the classroom, he starts talking about what he wants to tell, rather than trying to listen to the other people and making them aligned, right? So the first thing a trainer should make the people align through the process of pacing. And when that pacing is done carefully, a lot of connection with the trainees are achieved, then one should start throwing his point of view, and the leading process starts, and the participants will accept the thing, they will learn the thing, will get stimulated, and then that training process will become very, very effective. Well, I'm talking about this aspect of the end, but this is one of the most important things, the classroom behavior. You know that in a classroom, the behavior you are going to get, or you're expecting there, is not an individual behavior. This is behavior, is a group behavior. The group behavior is very highly infectious by the individual. And whatever you talk to one person that may radiate to the other person. That will be the influence the other people also. So, right, in a classroom, what behavior a trainer should show is very important. Sometimes the trainer goes in very wrong path, and that really spoils the entire classroom activity. Which is not to be done. The first three things are not to be done. The punitive or threatening practices. I have seen certain trainers, what mistake they do. The moment somebody asks a question, I've seen one trainer, what he does, the moment somebody asks a question, he says, "Just sit down, don't try to ask me questions. I know better than you." That's a very threatening practice, It should not be punitive or threatening. That is going to totally destroy the process. That trainees know that this trainer is not going to give us anything. Another thing is directive or ignoring practices. This is something, this kind of trainer, I have seen that they direct the people that you do not know much about. I know better than you. I am in a much better position. I have got a lot of experiences in my life. So just do what I say. Don't try to dictate me, and don't try to tell me. That is one very, very disturbing thing in a classroom. And also some other people, what they do is, if people are asking questions, they're trying to ignore those things and trying to deviate from that question, trying to ignore the questions. The directives or ignoring practices, they're equally dampening in the classroom. And that totally destroys the credibility of the trainer in the classroom. Dominating or pressuring practice, that is also is going to be very, very damaging. The trainer dominates people because of his position, because of his place in the organization, because of his experience as a trainer, and they try to pressurize people to behave in a particular way, to accept certain things, that dominating practices are also going to be very, very injurious to a training process. What should be done then? The process should be cooperative or participatory. It's a process of cooperating with each other to unravel certain knowledge, stimulating the knowledge process. As I told you earlier, you cannot give knowledge. You can only stimulating the minds of the people to open up themselves so they can start thinking about themselves. You as a trainer is only giving some aid to him, some assistance to him to open that process. So it should be very cooperative, and people should be able to participate in that process of training. That participation is very, very important. When they participate, they become part of it, they find it interesting, they ask more questions, and they find the training program more relevant. The more they find it more relevant, they learn more, and there will be a lot of chances that they will be able to imbibe some of those things in changing their behavior in their life or in their workplace. And that is going to really satisfy the purpose of the training program. So you have seen that this entire process, what has been said today, as a trainer, it's highly important. You, as a professional trainer, you should be able to imbibe these qualities within you, which you may not be able to do it one day. And some of you are at different levels of development, so it will take some time. But if you keep this in mind and practicing those things, keep experiencing, this is going to go a long way in developing yourself as a professional trainer. With that, thank you very much and for attending to my session. Now, I would definitely ask you to ask any questions that you have got. Please come up with the questions if you have got in your mind. Any question? Hello? Yes. Rapo in a highly technical program.
Yeah.
See, it doesn't matter whether it's a technical program, highly technical program, or a normal program. The first thing is that as a trainer, what you have to establish your credibility or your influence in the minds of the people. So they should first think that whatever you are talking about, you are related to them, you are at their level. And that is possible when only you first listen to them. So if there is a technical program, as a trainer, what you can do, I'll tell you. See, what happens, you can ask them questions. What are your problems in this technical program? In this particular technology or this technical practice, what is your problem? So ask about the questions, ask about the difficulties, and you just relate to their questions, they relate to their problems. Do not frown at them. Just tell them that's a very important thing. That's a very important thing. Listen to their problems very carefully. Once you start listening to them for some time, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then what will happen? You will become closer to them, and they will be eager to listen from you. Now we have said our problems, you have listened to us, you really understand our problem. Now please let us know what we should do. So your that acceptability will be created. So rapport creation is very important. By creating a rapport, you make people ready to listen to you, and that's very important, because if they are not ready and you start talking to them, it will bounce back. So whether it is a technical program or a non-technical program, it's irrelevant. In every program, you must first make them prepared to listen to you, and that is done through the process of rapport. This is a particular process which is done in neuro-linguistic programs and NLP technique, and every trainer has to understand certain NLP techniques to be used in the training process. Yes, please. Anything else? The training policy, as you have asked me, I will see that I'll get hold of one sample and I'll send it to you. Yes. Another question? Is that okay? Say yes or no. Yes, okay. Well, Mr. Agarwal, they have left in the next program. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.